Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Today's subject dovetails with a number of recent events on a number of different levels, but I think I should warn you in advance that today's briefing happens to deal with one of the subjects that black folks typically don't handle very well: entertainment. We need to talk about the things that we put our attention, money, time, and effort into. I'm talking about everything from political parties to the businesses we choose to buy goods and services from, to the media platforms we choose to watch or create content for, to whatever. The key term there being choose. So many people, products, and platforms that are taken for granted wouldn't even be where they are were it not for black patrons. Yet we get attacked constantly by these same people and companies, wherever we have a presence. Even when others get it bad, we always get it worse. It is our dollars and our interests that have powered so many of these entities, who will take our money, though in many cases not gladly, and yet regardless turn right around and spit in our faces, and we see this across the board. For example, recently people have been telling me that there's been an issue with Cash App. Their support says that if a user has trouble performing a transaction, they should wait a few hours and try again. Every person who tries to make a payment will succeed eventually, they say. I don't know if I'm the only person this is happening to, but the fact that it's come up out of nowhere when it hasn't happened before, and that these guys don't really give any answers, well, it reminds me of YouTube, truth be told. Because they make it a habit to attack black media channels, particularly during the summer. That's when they really ramp up the channel strikes and suspensions. People are at home more or less on vacation, so they have more time to explore for new channels, and blocking us from uploading interferes with our frequency of output, which hurts our ability to connect with viewers. That's deliberate. When channels are getting shut down or new viewers show up but there's no new content coming because the channel's been locked due to YouTube striking them, that makes it where people go away, or they're far less likely to stick around. Believe it or not, people, especially new viewers, are much more likely to wait 24 hours for new content as opposed to go and watch hours and hours and hours of old content, even though there's a lot more content they could get a lot more immediately. That's just a fact. The entire reason I even bother with these problematic apps is probably for the same reason you do. Because so many black people are already using them. So many black people are already part of their ecosystems and largely invested in them. It becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it or not, that's where we are. Black people made things like Cash App and YouTube hot, which is also the reason that I've stayed on YouTube all these years, regardless of how clearly hostile they are towards black content creators. And that's where the media piece comes in. So much of what this society takes for granted are things that got their start by finding a black audience. We make things hot. So many products and services began because black people took an interest in them, and then they use us as a financial and economic base. But they take our money and use it against us. Like when Hollywood was struggling in the 1970s, black audiences came to the rescue. And we still see it today with movies like Scarface and even John Wick. Black people are the ones who make these things pop. But we're constantly being hamstrung and shut out of the established and burgeoning media venues, even though we're the ones who made them hot in the first place. So many people who either watch entertainment or seek to get into making entertainment want an alternative to Netflix, a place where black documentarians or just filmmakers in general can go without the hassle and hoops that Netflix makes you jump through. One place that seems to be good, at least for a while, was Tubi. In fact, Tubi has gained a reputation as a place where black filmmakers in particular basically made it their spot, and as a result, black low and micro-budget filmmakers made that place hot to the point that white filmmakers were whining about that.
And I'm really, really happy that, such an underserved market has found its voice. And I get, I don't want to sound like soapbox preaching about it, but I get really bent out of shape when I hear, white filmmakers well, black filmmakers are making all the money right now, and that's not fair. And I'm like, you just have to find your thing, and it's different for us now, and we have been oversaturated for 100 years.
For year after year, which has come to amount to decade after decade, as black people we've been told the same old white media lie that, well, the reason that there's not more movies starring black people or just black content in general from these white studios is because there's just not an audience for it. There's no money in it. Why, if there was money, we'd be making it, don't you think? But that's not true. Under white supremacy, it is not all about green. It is only about black and white, because that's what defines the system. And that's what they're trying to prop up and perpetuate. a racialist pecking order. So Tubi started out to be something that a lot of black filmmakers, apparently from what I've seen, have thought to themselves was going to become some sort of haven, a safe place for black filmmakers and content creators. But then they've started to become just like Netflix. Now, there's something that needs to be known about Tubi. It's owned by Fox. Yes, the same Fox owned by Rupert Murdoch. The same Fox that gave Vivica Fox a platform to do her dusty, half-brained gender warring, trying to drive a wedge between black men and black women on the issue of voting and politics. There's been reports for at least a year now that Netflix and Warner Brothers and others have been wanting to buy Tubi, but so far Fox is holding out because the value of the company is only going up as long as black people continue to flock to it and make it a go-to spot for black filmmakers. And this is the pattern that's been playing itself out over and over and over again with a number of different products and services. These places wouldn't even exist if black people hadn't come there and brought our dollars and our creativity. We turbocharge these things and breathe the breath of life into them. And then the people who own them use the money that we generate for them and work against our interests. Now, before we go any farther, let me go ahead and reiterate. I'm not saying that if you watch Tubi or that if you make any content for it that there's something wrong with you and that you're working against black people's interests any more than YouTube. A lot of the landscape happens to be dominated by our enemies. That's just a fact of life, and it's a reality that we do need to understand. What I want everyone who's listening to me to understand is that while it is good that black micro and low-budget filmmakers have managed to find success through Tubi, it's also given us a lot of things that we didn't ask for, and that's by design. One of the big criticisms about Tubi is that it's also served as a ready haven for dusty and lowbrow ghetto-type fare, which reminds me of World Star Hip-Hop and Hood clips and other places created by non-black Americans for the sake of making money off of denigrating the image of black Americans. I'm not saying that that's all Tubi is. I'm not a subscriber to it, by the way. I've never even watched anything on it. I only know about it from reputation. So I'm probably not in a position to judge, admittedly. But when you have a streaming platform owned by Rupert Murdoch and his sons and black people make it wildly profitable, to me, that's the tail wagging the dog. I'm not trying to change whether or not you subscribe to Tubi or whether or not you watch it or create content for it. What I'm trying to do is to change the way that you think about it. See it as what it should be. Nothing more than an intermediate step between where we're trying to get to, which is self-sufficiency. Platforms that we own and we control. It's been said that the definition of power is to define ourselves and to define our relationship to those around us in such a way that our definition becomes theirs. When people have to go along with what you say it is, that's power. This is what this journey of black empowerment is truly about. Self-determination. Not only making our own choices, but doing it for our own benefit, alone. And all of these platforms and products and such that we make hot, we're supposed to be realizing the income from it. Other people are supposed to be lining our pockets. If we're the ones who everybody recognizes culturally and in every other way creatively, we breathe life into things, then all that money should be coming to us. Now, I'm not going to say that this is hustling backwards because it's not, but I will say that way too much of the money has been flowing in the wrong direction. We're the ones who make things hot, but we've been conditioned to think that the only position we're supposed to have in any economy is a customer, and that's all we're ever supposed to be. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said that if there's something you like to do, you're supposed to be making it or at the very least have an ownership stake in it. You like shoes, you're supposed to be making a shoe-making company. You like cars, you're supposed to own a car manufacturing company. You like watching movies, you're supposed to own a studio. And by the way, I have no problem whatsoever with black people making movies that have white, Asian, Hispanic, or other non-black actors in front of the camera, just so long as we're the ones making money off of it. People want to pay $1 billion to see a Barbie movie. People want to pay $500 million to see Crazy Rich Asians. That's fine by me, so long as a black studio is getting that $1 billion. You see, when it comes to black people, everybody else believes in being the ones who control our image, and they are the ones who have us in front of the cameras making money for them. There is unquestionably an unspoken but fiercely enforced rule that this is how things are supposed to be, and this is aggressively enforced. Anywhere else you look, everybody else operates like this. We should be doing the same. When it comes to other groups, let's find something to sell them. Put the shoe on the other foot, the right foot. We can't become an island unto ourselves, but the goal has to be to establish a status quo where we are the primary beneficiaries of our labors and our time, money, attention, and focus, and that we also benefit from the labor, time, money, and attention of others. We cannot truly benefit from something unless we own and control it, though, and that starts with our own actions. Look, I understand what I'm seeing, but we have to understand what's going on here. There are no quick and easy solutions to these problems we face, but that's not to say that there's no solutions at all. If we have the ability to make everyone else's apps and products and platforms hot, then we certainly can do it for ourselves. The Democratic Party has been on life support for basically the better part of 30 years, and this year the black vote essentially pulled the plug. When we give time, effort, money, or attention to something, we give it viability. We give it power. I want us to start finding the will and the self-respect to give that power to ourselves, to the source, where it should be. When I began posting videos on YouTube over 15 years ago, I told you then that your eyeballs and your minds are the greatest prize that everyone's been fighting for. The battles that we've been waging, I hope, have proven that to be true in recent years. Everyone talks all the time about this or that business being a disruptor, how this or that company is disrupting an entire industry, this or that individual is disrupting an entire industry. It's largely hyperbole. Most of the time they don't even know the meaning of this word. You, the black grassroots, however, you have the power to not just disrupt entire industries, but to destabilize a racist and unjust world order that's been around for far too long. And that isn't hyperbole. White supremacy is based on anti-black racism. It exists by keeping us powerless, and worse than that, by conditioning us to willingly give away our power to them so that we never have the chance to accumulate it. If you start acting selfishly, if you begin to hold on to what you've been giving away, you won't just disrupt these parasites who have been eating off of us, you'll destroy them. Creation and destruction are rarely ever the same thing, but in this case, they can be. And as we regain our focus, the forces of anti-black racism will begin to lose theirs. As we grow richer, they will become poorer. As we grow stronger, they will become weaker, until they eventually fall. If we're serious about what we want, and we show the persistence, and we're willing to make the changes necessary to get it, which may seem extreme and harsh at first, but as soon as we make those changes, we're going to look and say, man, we should have done this a long time ago. If that's what we do, then the next thing that black people are going to make hot is going to be empowerment. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Rebellious Zoe, Frederica Moore, Mark Anderson, William Ross, and Sean. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.